The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery, and welcome to Business Dive Extra, the program that looks beyond dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in the business and the capital markets. Today, we are joined by a woman who has for over 20 years led in the field of construction, development, and engineering with a passion, enthusiasm, and innovation. She's a registered professional engineer in both Jamaica and the USA. She has a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from UWI, a Master's in Science in Civil Engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology, and an MBA in Business Administration from the Mona School of Business and Management. She has served as a General Manager of WIHCON, Real Estate Development Division, and her groundbreaking leadership style and transformational vision is proven. Have you guessed it yet? Joining us is Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven Real Estate Investment Trust Limited, Proven REIT. Aisha.
Hi, Mark.
Welcome to Business Dive Extra.
Thank you
It's
for
great having you on Proven REIT.
Yes.
You know, it's not very often we get to really, interview, female leadership, and it's great to have you. We're always looking and searching, but you have really done a terrific job, and you're in the asset class of the moment, real estate.
Yes. Very exciting asset class, I would say. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And why, why do you find it so exciting? It's traditional, it's been around for ages. Persons always say they're not making any more of it, like one of the old adages. But why do you think it's exciting at this point of time, especially in Jamaica?
Well, the old adage does stand that land is not renewable, right? And for me, the exciting part of this is really creating real estate solutions for persons, for investors, for homeowners that will stand the test of time, that will help them to build generational wealth. And that, real estate, when sometimes, especially at WIHCON, we're handing over that home, it's this thing that you aspire for. You want to own your home. You want to have a piece of the rock.
Yes, yeah. And Proven REIT, is it a public vehicle or is it a private vehicle at this point in time?
So Proven REIT is a wholly owned subsidiary of Proven Investment Limited. And Proven Investment Limited is a public vehicle.
Okay.
And so what it is that the public can invest in Proven Investment, and then some of that capital is allocated to Proven REIT for us to do all of these wonderful projects that you see all over.
and we're gonna get to those.
I will get to that. Yes.
Roughly, when did it kind of get started, and when was the decision made to get into Proven REIT and get this real estate exposure under PIL?
Right. So Proven REIT is fairly young in the entire scheme of things and business life cycles, but we started around 2005, right? And at that point in time, the principals figured that this was a good time to get their feet wet in the real estate space, and we've been growing ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were some of the infancy projects, or what was one of the first projects for Proven Real Estate Investment Trust?
Right. So the first project that the trust did was on Kingsway Avenue. We did that as a joint venture. I was not with Proven REIT at the time, but they did that project and executed it as a joint venture with Matalon Homes.
Okay.
That was very successful.
Okay, so really what's unique about Proven REIT is you're not adverse to joint ventures or, kind of co-investing with other real estate, whether it's trusts or investment funds. You don't have to do it on your own.
We do not. And actually, we really look out and seek out strategic partnerships, because we believe that, you can bring something to the table and we can bring something to the table. And if you get that right alignment, Mark, it's like magic in terms of the product and the end game, right, for the real estate.
And so, Aisha, how do you kind of frame Proven REIT? Is it kind of like a development fund? Is it more like just real estate exposure overall, or how do you look at it? Is it it's not a sole developer, clearly, based on what you mentioned.
Right.
But how do you kind of frame it when you speak to whether it's investors or shareholders?
Right. So we look at our portfolio in two buckets: the development projects, which are typically the greenfield projects that we would look at a piece of land and build that from ground up, and we can either sell that down, like some of the apartments that we're doing now, or we can keep that in our portfolio. And then we just look at also the revenue producing investment properties, that we would look for investment properties that exist, have strong tenants, and we would invest in that. And that's our recurring revenue. And that's another income stream. So it's really looking at how we best balance that portfolio. But overall, now, when you look at the right mix, that's when you have that great performance from a financial point of view.
And so you do keep, whether it's residential or commercial, you do keep some risk on the balance sheet, or you keep back some of the development properties for income appreciation purposes?
Absolutely. So right now we've kept back, we're keeping back the commercial properties more so than the residential. We're going to be selling down most of the residential, but we may keep some of those as well. So we do have in our portfolio now the income producing commercial properties, and as I said, the residential primarily that we sell down.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear from, say, even, just retail investors, the market, persons avoid residential because you don't want to be getting a complaint call from, call me the plumber, call me, not necessarily the engineer, but call this and this problem, that problem, so they stick with commercial. Is that kind of some of the thought process, that the commercial has the longer term leases and it's less risky?
Yeah, I mean, so that is a consideration because we are looking for a solid tenant that, as you said, you can minimize your risk, so you can secure your income stream where that's concerned. That is not to say that if we see a residential property that we can buy in block,
like volume,
right? So it would make sense then to get a property manager to work through whatever issues and to deal with the different tenants.
So almost like if you could buy a whole strata one time.
Correct. And more importantly, if it meets our return criteria, it's something that we're open to looking at.
Yeah. So because you're a private company, I mean, is there kind of a mix like that you can tell us, like between commercial and residential, that you try and like hit as a strike rate?
Not between commercial and residential, between the development projects and the income revenue, recurring revenue projects. Nice. So we try to skew it more to the recurring revenue assets because that's less risky.
Yes.
And you get your cash flows from that. But then you have your development projects that going to give you that spike in profit. When I sell down one development and it's profitable, you get that hit of profit. And we look for 60% in terms of that recurring revenue and 40% in terms of the development projects for selling down is really what we're targeting.
That's the magic number.
That's what we believe is the magic number.
Are you there today?
No, we're not.
Okay, you're below the 60%.
We are more in the development side right now.
Got you.
Yes.
But as you churn them out, that's where you want to get to.
And here's the thing. Some of the projects that we're developing greenfield will eventually go into recurring revenue because we're going to hold them in our portfolio.
And is your target market, I mean, is it, let's say, accredited investors, high net worth investors, or is it more institutional investors like pension funds where you're looking to sell or, offload the assets to?
I would say it's a really broad mix, and it's very product and location specific, Mark. So we have projects coming up on the North Coast, and in those cases, we're targeting the diaspora. Some of the projects that we have here in the KMA region, yes, we've had pension funds invest, but we've primarily had your high net worth investors invest in those, especially those we have on Millsboro Avenue, the villas, the high-end villas, etc. And then you do still, we're still also targeting some, young couples that want to invest and first-time homeowners for some of the entry-level prices for our products.
Do you, a lot of developers out there say, once they do a good job, they have a strong track record, their buyers sometimes can be as high as like 30%, meaning like, the same buyers, development to development.
Yes.
Do you have your own internal kind of sales team, or do you use third-party realtors? I mean, how does that kind of magic work for you?
Right. So we have a hybrid. So we do have on my team, I have sales persons, but we also partner with external realtors And that really works for us. So we've built up our own internal database to answer that question. And yes, we do have repeat customers through that and through keeping them informed, and they're happy with one product, and they go, okay, when next are you going to be developing another, right?
Okay.
And as you said, that loyalty is key, you know. So
once
when
you're
you
delivering and yeah.
Absolutely. Once you're delivering, you know, even if they may not buy, Mark, they're going to tell somebody else. And so that referral, that loyalty is something that's key for us, which also ties into the quality of the product that we are going to put out there and that we do put out there.
At Proven REIT.
At Proven REIT.
We're going to come back to you, Aisha. And we take our first break on Business Dive Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. Proven Real Estate Investment Trust is the preeminent real estate development arm of Proven Investments Limited. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Proven Investments Limited. Proven REIT has residential and commercial development projects with over 109,000 square feet of commercial space and 40 plus acres of prime development lands across the Caribbean. The company's first stamp on the real estate market was made in 2014 with a 3-story contemporary building with a successful partnership with Madelon Homes. Proven REIT's core values are excellence, integrity, passion, and respect. Here to tell us all about Proven REIT is CEO Aisha Campbell. Aisha, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark.
You know, you started telling us about the first development, 2014 or so, Kingsway. Was it a massive success, you know, huge success? Any apartments or residential retained, or was it a full, call it full sale?
Yeah, it was definitely successful. It was our first partnership. We had robust sales. The product was a quality product, and our customers were happy. And so we went on from there to do more and more of those sort of developments, residential.
Residential?
Yeah.
And in the early days, like any new business, did you find Proven Investments venturing into the real estate space, you know, different asset class and stocks, bonds, you know, shares, etc.? Were there some teething pains in the early years that, you know, Proven REIT had to kind of go through, like any startup business?
Absolutely. And just to say that I started 4 years ago, so I was not there from the inception. But even then, because it was still fairly young, we had to build out systems and processes, but I came with my experience from WIHCON, and that's what we do. We do development, and so it's been a really exciting journey, to be honest, Mark. Because what we're doing, we have a vision for really expanding across the Caribbean, and we just want to push the boundaries. Anything that we put out there, we want it to be iconic.
Right. So you mentioned the Caribbean.
Yes.
Any development properties or joint ventures outside of Jamaica at this point?
Yes, we're actually doing a development in Grand Cayman, and we're doing that with a partner, because in Cayman you have to have a partner to execute those sort of projects. So you have to have a Caymanian partner. So we're doing that with a partner, Infinity Capital Partners Limited, and we're doing 13 townhomes there on the Lagoon waterfront, and so hopefully we'll be delivering that this year.
Okay, so that's an ongoing development.
Yes.
And are you planning to retain any of those units for income, or is that undecided?
Undecided at this time, but what we are definitely looking for in Cayman, warehousing.
You are? Okay.
Yes, we're looking for warehouse opportunities in Cayman, along with other opportunities.
Like commercial as well?
And I say that to hold.
Okay.
So for the whole portfolio, definitely there's a demand in Cayman for warehousing, and then to do some other developments as well.
Any other jurisdictions as yet, even if it's just, you know, greenfield, or it's, you know, commercial, industrial in the Caribbean, or just Cayman was the first?
Cayman is our first from a real estate development point of view, but as you know, Proven has its Proven Investments Limited has its footprint right across the Caribbean. So we're also looking in Barbados, we're looking at Bahamas, we're looking across the Caribbean at regions that we really feel that we can we can expand the brand and expand our offering.
Is there a co-strategy, if you can disclose? I mean, it does seem logical. I mean, you work closer with Proven Investments, you're a subsidiary. I mean, if PIL is in Cayman already, recently purchased a bank license or so, you know, they're in St. Lucia with Basel, is it logical to think you'll go into the jurisdictions where your parent company is already?
Yeah, in some instances. So because you still have to know the real estate market, what might be an opportune time for a banking or wealth opportunity or license, etc., may not be as opportune for a real estate opportunity. So we still do our research, Mark, and we're big on that to see, okay, even if we were to enter, what should we enter doing? Which asset, which subset of the real estate asset class do we want to really go after?
Yes.
And is this the right time? You know, we're looking at liberalized currency when we go looking for jurisdictions. And so we have some criteria that help us to filter the opportunities and the deals that come to the table.
And Aisha, on that point, what type of, you mentioned like returns earlier, yield, what type of net, like ROI, what do you want to see on a return on a property, you know,
Right.
a single property?
So we call it the cap rate that we're typically looking for and looking to hit is 9% on leverage.
Is that net or gross?
Net.
Net, okay.
Yes, net.
So you're demanding.
Yes, we are. It's
But
proven.
that's good. And that's US dollars.
Yes, typically we're looking for US dollar income generating properties. So yes.
Okay.
And that's on the recurring revenue. On development properties, you would know that you can get much higher returns, but it's much higher risk.
Yes.
So the risk return equation comes into play, right? So we have a much higher target for that.
Right. And back to the point on development properties, do you have your own in-house, like, I don't know, engineering contractor team, or you do outsource that? And I know that's always a tough question in the marketplace. What is the right model to use, and so forth?
Right. And mind you, I'm coming from a WIHCON where we had a whole engineering team, draftsmen, hands-on.
You do everything yourself.
Yes. Right? Because it's a slightly different, a very different structure. We're not developer-contractor, as is WIHCON, right? We're just a developer, and then we also have that investment portfolio management, real estate investment portfolio management. So what we do, again, similar to the sales, is we do a hybrid. I do have subject matter experts on my team. I have technical experts on my team, but we also do outsource to consultancy firms for some of our projects.
And if you had the ideal scenario where you feel like you get the best, you know, output, would it be in-house or is it sometimes outsourced?
So let me tell you the pluses and minuses. What I like about in-house is you have more control. You have more control over the timelines, the output, the quality. But if we get the right consultant, that can also play out. On the flip side, if you don't have the right consultant and you're waiting however long for the deliverables, et cetera, then it becomes a challenge. So what I've done and what we've done at Proven is look for the key areas that we need to be able to have a little bit more control over and oversight, and we hire some of those experts in-house so that it's, again, a risk mitigation strategy.
Yeah. And do you find throughout the years, whether if you're outsourcing or you're using consultants, do you find that slowly but surely each year you're bringing more in-house because you're kind of learning from the consultants, and who knows, you might even be hiring some of the consultants full-time to join Proven REIT, or that's not your strategic model?
No, that's not the strategic model, because honestly, we don't want to build out a huge team this is not necessarily our core. I'm not an engineering and design company.
So you don't want too much top-heavy or too much costs in the REIT itself?
No, not necessarily. But as I said, we want key positions to be filled that can provide oversight to the consultants that we hire, or pull it all together from a project management standpoint. And so that's what we have been doing.
Aisha, how do you handle the question? I mean, let's say you have your Cayman project, right?
Yes.
We've seen this with JMB as well, a few other Jamaican private companies and public companies. they want to diversify, they go to some other countries, they might lose money, they might make money, but the yield of 9%, 10%, even 12% is always in our home country. It's always in Jamaica. And you look at their public financials, they keep trying to diversify. I think we've seen it with Grace Kennedy too, but the return really is in Jamaica, and there's still more market share here. Does your board feel, or do you feel that the key is in the diversification, or you should be investing more in Jamaica because the returns really are still here?
And you're correct, because you can't get 9% in Cayman easily. Mm-hmm. You probably can get it in warehousing, which is why we're looking in that space.
If you develop from scratch?
If you develop from scratch. And even with mini warehousing, you can get that, because it's smaller spaces. And so what happens is that you can rent it at a higher price per square foot, rental rate per square foot, until the yields are higher, right? But typically in Cayman, we're looking at 7.5, right? Okay. Having said that, we are heavily invested in Jamaica. We have 9 of our 10 development projects in Jamaica. And so we still do want to diversify, because Cayman is for instance, and we use Cayman as an example because that's where the only other Caribbean island we're in right now, but it's a very robust economy, especially with regards to certain things. So what I can sell as a price per square foot, the margins I can make, put it that way, in Cayman on a project are higher than what I can do here, because the economy and the customer base can take that. And so it depends. You really have to look at each market and see what it is you want to do in each jurisdiction.
I got you in terms of that. And a 7.5% return, let's say, as you mentioned in Cayman, is really not that bad.
It's not that bad. It really isn't.
It's pretty good compared to where you look at U.S. interest rates. I mean, even our policy rate in Jamaica right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. And so that's why we're still playing in that market and looking for other areas in countries in the Caribbean.
And you touched on 9 to 10. So your total, say, developments right now, Caribbean, not just Jamaica, is how many in total?
We have 10 development projects on our books, and then we have the other recurring revenue
and when you say 10, they're actually broken ground and ongoing, or some of them are in the planning stages?
In different phases. So I have right now about 5 under construction.
Wow.
Or in different phases. Yeah.
Amazing. We're going to come back to that. We take another break on Business Dive Extra. More with Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven REIT, when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. Proven REIT's vision is to accelerate wealth creation across the Caribbean by providing access to quality and innovative real estate solutions. The company has several opportunities on the market presently, covering residential to commercial properties. These include Bloomfield Park and Avista at Bloomfield in Mandeville, Proven Place on Lady Musgrave Road, Via at Braemar on Braemar Avenue, the Cesar on Millsboro Avenue, and Lagoons in Grand Cayman. Proven REIT continues to acquire lands and expand their footprint as they continue to focus on real estate as an asset class. Still with us is Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven REIT. Aisha, welcome back.
Thank you,
Business Dive Extra. It's amazing to think you have 5 at planning stage, 5 you're broken ground on.
Yes.
I mean, what's the size, or let's say the head count of the in-house team at Proven REIT to manage? That's mega amount of projects.
Yes, we're a team of 9.
Okay.
And of course, we have the support of our group, which is Proven Investment Limited. But when you have the right team, it works. So we're able to execute all that we're talking about here, and I would say so myself, do it very efficiently. I mean, I have an amazing team.
Okay. And so there are some synergies between the parent and the subsidiary?
Yes.
Whether it's analysis or...
Absolutely. We get the support. I work closely with Chris. We have an investment management committee, some of the brightest minds in Jamaica, and they help. And my board is super, super supportive. So it is, a collaborative effort. Whatever you're seeing happening out here, coming out of Proven REIT, is really a team approach.
A team approach.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Tell us a little bit about like the residential market. It just feels like, everywhere you go, especially in Kingston, but even island-wide, somebody just has to ask the question. Like you can't have breakfast, lunch, or dinner without it. How do you feel about the residential market? Is it in a bubble? How is it going? Even just personally, it just seems like the selling price has kind of doubled in the last 12 or 18 months, but the demand also still seems to be there. Some of the developments we just mentioned, like Cesar, Via, etc. How are you seeing the demand? I mean, you have your finger on the pulse. What's it like out there?
Right. So let's talk from the demand side, and then we talk about the input side, which is what's happening with the cost escalation. So from the demand side, in terms of the products that we have on the market now, we have gotten great response to our products. Why, Mark? Because of location and also the product that we're putting out there, right? So if you're going to be charging $270, $300 US a square foot, if people see that there's value, of course there's an affordability factor, but we're talking about the seasoned investor, right, who is going to put it back on the market for Airbnb or long-term rental. If they perceive that there's value, they will pay that price per square foot rate for the asset. So we have sold out our Cesar project on Millsboro, and the villas were ranging between 1.1 to 1.4 million.
So that's at the higher end of the market.
That's the higher end.
And besides location, because you mentioned location, what would be like the unique selling position of that? Is it the finishes that you feel you did a really good job on, or how do you sell it? Or
right, location first. The design, right?
Design means layout, or
layout of the development, layout of the actual unit, whether it's the villa or the apartment, the finishes, the amenities.
And come back to design layout, it's like this is different. You're not going to see this somewhere else on Millsboro.
Yeah, and a lot of thought has been put into it. So we work, and this is where working with the right professional comes into play. We work with some of the top architects, and we really do have amazing, talented architects, Jamaican architects.
And the thought means what? Functionality?
Functionality.
You're not going to bucket toe when you turn the corner, or
there's certain things, especially in an apartment or villa, that people are looking for. It must work from a livability point of view, a comfort point of view. It must, and so when our buyers are, they know what they want. I mean, from the days of HGTV now, Mark, it can't just throw something together and put it on the market, and people are not going to be like, but why this bathroom like this? Or, they're going to ask questions, and so they look at the floor plans. They do.
So the consumer is far more educated
They
now.
are more educated, they are more sophisticated, and so we have to make sure that the product meets their needs.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So that's what you really feel is differentiating proven REIT in the market.
I definitely think so. I think we spend the time, we put in the effort, we hire the right team that puts together a product that's in the right location, but also the product specifications. And I say product is really the real estate asset or whatever it is that we're selling. And it meets the need of the market that we're trying to target. So it all comes back to my marketing.
And Aisha, when you look at probably your early development, 2014 Kingsway, you've done another development, I think the Sullivan, and your high-end development now. Is a strategy to really cover all the different, call it, spheres of the market, or going forward, are you going to be focusing on a particular niche, in the selling prices?
So I would say right now we're in the middle and upper, middle to upper is how where we're playing right now.
You feel better with the demand curve there?
So to be honest, the demand in the lower end of the market is definitely there. Will always be there. It's underserved.
Right.
But we want to stay focused for now. It's not that if an opportunity that comes along that we feel that we can capitalize on and we have the bandwidth to take on, we would not play in a different segment. But for now, the products that we're developing are really in that upper middle to upper end of the market. And we know that space. We have built up the database with customers in that space. And so that's where we're playing. The thing I like about proven, Marcus. Nothing is off the table, though.
Sure. Yeah.
We sit and we look at the market all the time. So I may say this today, and then we may look at the market and we may look at the opportunities. And it's not that we're shifting all the time. We do it strategically and say, okay, maybe it's time to get into a slightly lower segment because there really is a demand and we can find a piece of land. The problem why you can't, people are saying they cannot afford homes in Kingston. The land prices,
Yes.
that first input just brings up the price from day one.
But it's an interesting comment because, I mean, do you see proven REIT, as you said, nothing is off the table. Could you see yourself one day shifting? I mean, you're still a young company. You know, you're under 10 years old technically. Could you see yourself going into, you know, we do call it still low income or affordable housing in Jamaica, but you're now seeing some of these developments that start at 15, 17 million going as high as 22 million or 25 million. So it doesn't really come across as affordable housing anymore. It's like middle market or so.
Lower middle.
And so do you see that as a possible, you know, potential avenue, although it's dominated by Gore and Chemtech and WIHCON?
Yes.
You know,
it's not off the table because there's great demand when we look at the market between the 12 to $20 million Jamaican price point. It's just really getting the land, the location that you can build at that price. And with the inputs, the cost inputs going up like crazy now, it's getting those margins, and the margins on those sort of projects, I'll tell you. So you have the volume, but the margins tend to be lower.
Tend to be lower than the higher end projects.
Absolutely.
And they tend to take longer, would you say?
Yes. To turn around. So it's like you're looking at a 3-4 year. If it's you know, I mean, when I left WIHCON, we were doing the one in Montego Bay. That's 1,500 homes.
Wow.
I think we're still doing phase 2 of it now. So that's WIHCON. But yeah.
So some of the market, call it supply then, you know, I guess that's one of the issues is that some of the developers feel like they can really, you know, do their deals quicker in the higher end market or the middle end market and higher margins, et cetera. So that's one of the issues I guess Jamaica has as a whole with the affordable homes.
Yes, there's that. And when you buy a piece of land in New Kingston or on Millsboro, you have all the infrastructure in already. You have for the most part, you have the water, you have the sewer. A lot of the times, the lower income housing developments are burdened with having to put in the infrastructure to support it because these locations are a little bit more out of town. So in Old Harbor or Spanish Town, and you may be required to run a water line. And so those projects end up being burdened by heavier infrastructure costs. Mm-hmm. And that's what also helps to lower the margins.
Gotcha. And you mentioned a point earlier about the cost of land or the input being so important. If it's a really, you know, massive amount of acreage you're buying, do you really feel the cost of the land is critical in the evaluation process?
So it absolutely is based on the product you want and the planning criteria. So if fine, you're buying a big piece of land, but you can do a denser development and get your price point down, so because you're now going to be spreading that cost over more units, then So each opportunity that comes to the table, Mark, we have to run the analysis. We have to run the feasibility analysis because that's the thing that I actually like, that there's no one development that's like the other.
That they're not all the same.
They're not all the same.
And most of your developments, I mean, so far, you know, have been in Kingston and St. Andrew, but you mentioned some, you know, North Coast exposure.
Yes.
Going forward now, you know, let's say this year and beyond, is the focus still primarily going to be, you know, Kingston and St. Andrew, or are you looking to branch out into the rest of Jamaica, or is that tough to do? No,
it's not. And so first of all, we have a development also in Mandeville. Mm-hmm. So we're doing the first high-rise, 7-story development in Mandeville.
How is that going? Persons have always said Mandeville demand is soft. It's a tough market. I mean, how is that going so far?
It is a tough market, but we're breaking into that market because people are now seeing the building is up to about 5th or 6th story now. And, you know, Mandeville, I don't think the community is big on buying on spec, right? Which means that you're buying off of plan.
Right.
Right? They want to see it. Right? So now that it's going up, we're getting the interest is soaring in it for that development. Now that they're actually seeing it going up and they can visualize it some more, we're getting interest not only from persons living in Mandeville, but also from diaspora.
And that building is mixed use, or is it residential and commercial?
That's the residential part.
Residential
and we're also going to have a commercial part of that overall development. So it's called Bloomfield Park.
Yes.
The residential is a Vista at Bloomfield, and we're doing 78 apartments, and then we're going to be building out some other commercial.
Great.
So it's like a mixed-use concept.
We're going to come back to that. And we take another break on Business Dive Extra, more with Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven REIT, when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. The asset class of real estate has been on everyone's mind, with the selling price per square foot of residential real estate moving in the past 1 to 2 years from approximately 25,000 Jamaican per square foot to as high as Jamaican 40,000 per square foot on selective developments in Kingston. Do we expect this positive movement to continue? Is real estate the classic inflation hedge that everyone tells us it is? How will increase in interest rates potentially impact the real estate market? Proven REIT is a private company at this stage. Will they eventually list on the markets like their parent Proven Investments and allow investors to get direct exposure? For a final time, we're joined by Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven REIT Limited. Aisha, welcome back.
Thank you, Mark.
We're just talking about the Mandeville development.
Yes.
And would you say that building is a pioneer investment or a pioneer building in Mandeville?
One of its kind, and it's groundbreaking for Jamaica. I think it's the first of its kind, the mixed use concept actually being executed is definitely the first of its kind in Jamaica, and that's what we do at Proven REIT. We really are looking to push the boundaries and do things that are new, different. And yes, persons may say, where are you going with a high rise in Mandeville?
Right.
But let me tell you, when you see the view of those mountains, you're like, yeah.
And you know, what do you think as a real estate expert drove all of this kind of, like, call it skyscrapers in Jamaica or Kingston or Mandeville? I mean, what drove this whole phenomena to happen in the last couple of years?
Land prices and densities, increase in allowance of densities. So because the prices of the land, particularly more so in Kingston, have escalated, have gone up so much over the last couple of years, in order for you to even create a product that the market can bear, you're going to have to go up. You're going to have to do the vertical construction and maximize the densities that are allowed for that land.
Yeah. You know, I remember back in roughly 2000, 2005, you know, selling prices were maybe 10,000, 12,000 Jamaican a square foot, something like that. Yeah. And everybody was saying we're in a bubble again, you know, disaster is coming. Same thing at 15,000, you know, and the story goes on, 20,000, and now that we've had 40. Right, so now we've had this massive jump, of course, increase in steel prices, cement, lumber, and now we're at 40. And everybody, you know, even today, you know, 2-3 persons ask me, well, are we in a bubble? And everywhere you go. You know, is it the same story just repeating itself again, that, you know, prices will slowly but surely move higher and we're just really not in a bubble?
Put it this way, I've been in the real estate industry for 21 years in Jamaica, right? I have never, not even in the 2007, 2008 financial crisis, seen property values decrease. They may level off, you may not have that same percentage increase in appreciation, right, but I have never seen that happen. And so at the end of the day, I really don't, my personal opinion is that we're not in a bubble because the real estate holds its value in Jamaica and in the Caribbean in general as an asset class, because when you look at our region just as a destination of choice, that alone brings significant value to our land.
Right. And the reality is, I mean, and I'm sure you do examinations at, at Proven, and you have your statistics and analysis. We really don't really have a significant mortgage-backed market here yet, or a significant mortgage market here yet at this point.
Which was what caused the bubble
Right.
in the U.S.
Right.
And that's not our structure here. And I think our financial institutions are a lot more robust, even coming out of that experience, that the housing crisis in the U.S., in terms of pre-qualifying and making sure that what they're giving out as loans, the persons can service them. And so I don't. What I do know is what's happening is that the gap is growing. So there are more and more people that really can't find that product that they can afford.
That they can afford.
That they can afford.
Or maybe even like afford a deposit on to then
absolutely.
access.
So the affordability issue is real, right?
Okay.
Because when we're earning in Jamaican, and then the dollar is depreciating, and we all know what's happening and inflation is happening, and you're trying to buy an investment or a real estate asset, and you just can't qualify, or you can't come up with the deposit. I mean, at WIHCON, we used to have to reduce the deposit to even 5% so that persons would be able to own that property, right? So that is there.
And sometimes people would even go and borrow that 5% from their credit union or somewhere.
Absolutely. That is there, and that is real, and that continues, and that is growing because the economic situation is not getting easier and the prices are getting higher.
With that said, some of the recent T-bill auctions, by the BOJ were like 7.9%, 8.4%, around there. The 90-day, the 180-day. Sometimes they call it interest rates, they're kind of like the silent killer. They just creep up on you.
Yes.
Do you think that will potentially hurt developers in the market who do borrow, or do you think interest rates could have some impact?
It definitely will. I mean, even as we speak, we're going for construction loans, and the rates that I'm getting now are significantly higher than what I was getting.
So you've seen a bump up?
I've seen a bump up in the construction loans. In terms of mortgage rates, I don't really think that it has been passed through significantly. But as you said, it's a little creeps. But let me qualify, it's really on the Jamaican dollar loans. Yes. The US dollar loans are pretty much in the same range as they have been, so I haven't seen that play out in terms of that. But there's no doubt about it, it's going to affect the cost of capital. Right.
And Aisha, getting to you, how did you end up in real estate? You were with WIHCON for a long time, highly recommended, highly thought of. You're at Proven REIT now as a CEO. Yes. Great to see, in Jamaica. But how did you kind of get started, a passion for this? And you studied engineering.
Yes.
I mean, how did this all happen?
So I'm a civil engineer by training.
Wow.
And basically I did my first degree in Trinidad, UE, and then I came to Jamaica, and WIHCON was actually the first place that I worked. I went through the ranks at WIHCON, just stepped away for about 2 years to do my master's in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. And of course, you're at WIHCON, West Indies home contractors.
So you're a globetrotter.
Yes,
Atlanta,
I am.
Caribbean.
Was born in Barbados, because I'm sure everybody's hearing the accent.
I was going to ask you, where's the great accent from? Is it Bayesian?
It's very mixed up, because I was born in Barbados, grew up in Grenada, but I've been living here for 21 years. So I would say I'm a Caribbean girl.
Okay.
That's how I position it, because I also lived in St. Lucia.
So we'll see Proven REIT expand in the Caribbean.
And that is something that, on a personal level, really aligned with me, because the vision for Proven and Proven REIT is regional. And my own background, my life story, my journey has been regional. And that was something that really attracted me to the vision and what we're doing at Proven REIT. So to answer your question, real estate, I get to use the left side and the right side. I'm a creative.
Okay.
And I'm also technical. When you look at a piece of land, or you look at an asset and you say, "Ooh, I can see that potential," or "I can see that building." I don't know if you've seen our VIA development, but we're really excited about that. But there was on Braemar.
It's interesting. There were some posts on social media just saying that this is the best looking, modern or just best looking high rise that persons have seen, in Jamaica or in Kingston. And I mean, it's interesting because, you really get independent comments on social media. So
Yes.
it's not marketing. It's
we're
not
not
sales.
pushing it in the
But
back.
there's been a couple of comments like that and a couple of threads that are really giving you a big up.
And that is that. And thank you for that. But we really put a lot into that project. And that's where the vision I'm talking about and the creativity and working with the right professionals and working with the right team comes into play. So that's what's really exciting for me. And so I get to do both. And I also get to impact lives. When I was at WIHCON and even now here still at Proven, when you hand somebody the key to their home,
That
Mark,
achievement, your feet.
nothing like it. Because, the Maslow hierarchy of needs, this is one of the great needs. I want to own my own home.
And it comes back to you want to own a piece of the rock.
You want to own a piece of the rock, whether it's here in Jamaica, and this is a regional thing.
Yeah.
So that is also something that we're passionate about.
And Aisha, just thinking about you personally, Proven REIT, legacy. I mean, I know it's still early days, you're young, but just thinking about legacy and everything, a couple of years from now, whether it's real estate, it's long term, 5, 10 years, where do you want to see, your legacy stamped on Proven REIT, and where do you want to see Proven REIT, as a company?
So definitely, I would love to see us have a footprint, a much wider footprint in the Caribbean, and we're working towards that, We want to expand that brand into the REIT brand, because PIL is already regional, but right behind the group brand, we want the real estate brand to be a regional household name. And the products that we're either investing in, even if it is for the recurring revenue, or that we're developing ourselves, must stand, you must be able to pass and say, that looks like a proven REIT product. Okay,
so you want to get that type of, get in person's minds that that's a Proven REIT building.
Yes, and I want one of those.
Okay.
I want to be associated, or I want to invest in the company that has one of those.
That's a great feeling, and that's an inspirational, great story. It's been great having you, Aisha.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for joining us on Business Dive Extra.
All right. Thanks for having me.
No, that's it for another edition of Business Dive Extra. Remember, the best investment on earth is earth. We've been talking with Aisha Campbell, CEO of Proven Real Estate Investment Trust, Limited Proven REIT. Don't forget, you can watch us online at cvm.com/videos/Business Dive Extra. Thanks for joining us.